everyone, what's up? It's me. I'm back. It's been a long fucking time since I've created any content, right? And then I got sick, and I've been sick. I was on the couch. Like, I did not leave the couch for like 5 days. I was very sick. Not dying, but I felt like I was dying. Now I'm feeling better, but like I'm still, as you can tell from my voice, my very sexy, sultry, sick voice. I'm not quite over it all the way, but here I am. So that happened like at the very end of October. And now I don't even know what the date is. Time is elusive. But I'm here with the books that I did end up reading in October. Not very many of them. And I just really don't know what's up with my reading. It's hard for me to do anything lately. And I really thought that I would come out of this slump. I feel like I've been feeling like this since like August, September. And I thought I would snap out of it, and it's just not happening. So my reading is like definitely suffering, and it really bums me out because it's something I love to do dearly. So like when I pick up a book and it's like, I just cannot, I can't focus on it, and I can't concentrate on it. And I read like 2 pages and I have to like put it down and be done, or like I read the same paragraph over and over because I just can't, I don't fucking know what's up, and it's really fucking bumming me out. So yeah, it's not great. It feels really dismal. I don't like this feeling. I wish it would go away. I don't know how to help it because I feel like this is more than just a reading slump. I feel like, I don't know what the fuck it is, but I'm here with what I did read in October. I did get through some novellas, and I'm not going to do any stats because like, what's the fucking point? What's the point in anything recently? So anyway, the first book I'd like to tell you guys about today is Wanderers by Chuck Wendig. This came out in 2019. This like, oh my god, this came out like, I feel like right before the pandemic, right? Like, I know I read it at the beginning of the pandemic, and so this was a very, oh gosh, it's just, there's so many parallels in this that made it very creepy. How did he predict this? I don't know, but he did. Some of the things that have happened. So, this I reread because the sequel, Wayward, is coming out this month sometime, and I was really planning on just like snatching that up right away and reading it, but like with the state of my mind, I don't know if I'll be able to read it right away. This story is so big and so dense, and there's so many little cogs and pieces of machinery, but this really starts out with this young girl named Nessie. She's like a teenager, and she gets up one morning and she just starts walking like she's asleep, and her older sister Shayna starts following her, and eventually like more of these people, these sleepwalkers, they merge into this big huge fucking herd of people following Nessie, and then their families start to follow, and it becomes like this big huge herd of people. These sleepwalkers, they cannot be woken up. If they're impeded in any way, they literally fucking explode, and they will just crawl over obstacles, and it's like they have this set path. They know like this path that they're supposed to take, and nothing will stop them from taking this path. And so the people following them, their family members, the people who are keeping them safe from other people, because some people are very freaked out by this phenomena and are trying to hurt the sleepwalkers. They end up being called the shepherds. You know, there's people from the CDC who are investigating this. And soon after this starts happening with the sleepwalkers, people start to get sick of like a flu-like disease, but it also devolves into almost like dementia, and people start to forget who they are and forget what they're doing. Sometimes they become violent, but like more often than not, if you get this, it's like 100% fatal. You know, these storylines merge and you find out exactly how these pieces fit together to create this big giant puzzle, and it's such a really great story. I really love just pandemic stories in general. Those have always been interesting to me, but it's even more interesting now, I think, seeing the parallels between these fictional happenings and like what has happened in our world during our pandemic. That's a really condensed version of what Wanderers is about. It's such a great book. I mean, I reread it. I reread it because of the sequel, but also because I really like this book. Like, this is a fucking phenomenal book, and I think everyone should read it. So the rest of these here are novellas. The first one I'd like to talk about is Anybody Home by Michael J. Seidlinger. This is kind of a unique story because it's a home invasion story, but it's told by the people who are home invading. In particular, really, it's told by one person who is kind of helping this person is like a seasoned home invader, and they are helping somebody else like do this home invasion performance, because they aren't just invading homes, stealing things and leaving. They're like hurting people and torturing people psychologically and physically and things like that. And it's all taped, and like these people in this like home invasion ring, they put their tapes on the internet for people to see because it causes great fear and it brings them notoriety, you know. And so that part of it was really interesting. But everything else, I just like could not enjoy this book. And I mean, all of these in the past few months, it's like really hard for me to know, is this just my state of mind right now? Because that could totally be it. And so like my opinions on these books right now, definitely take it with a grain of salt, because like I said, my state of mind has not been great, and it's been really hard for me to read anything at all, even interesting things. But this one I did not find interesting. There was a lot of editing errors. It was really hard to start out with because nobody is called by their names. There's victim 1, victim 2, victim 3, victim 4, and then there's, what do they call them? Invader, I think. I think it's like Invader 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, something like that. And so like as this is happening, there's definitely continuity errors between who is where at times. And so you're like, well, victim 4, you just said victim 4 was outside. How can you be watching them inside if they're outside with you? You know, things like that, where it's like, just the editing was not very good on this. And overall, I thought that it was really hard to keep track of who was where doing what. You know, part of the way through I started to get really bored of what was happening. I just didn't even care, even like as we were at the parts where like this is the climax, this is when the really bad stuff is happening. I was just like, I don't know, I don't care. I didn't care about the invaders, I did not care about the victims, and overall I just felt very disappointed. And I know that there was a lot of people who said that this book was absolutely fucking phenomenal, and that's okay. Of course, like I'm never gonna be upset that somebody likes a book, but this one was just not for me, and I really wish like I understood the hype. And like maybe I kind of do. I mean, like I said, the way that this is set up was very interesting, but I think the execution was not great. But I would definitely try out more of this author's work. Home invasion is something that like genuinely scares me, you know, like a real life scary thing. But this did not make me scared for my life, unfortunately. So the next book I'm going to tell you about is Stargazers by L.P. Hernandez. This came out this year. This is part of the My Dark Library collection. And this is a story about these people. They start calling them the Stargazers, and they're afflicted with this thing. And it doesn't seem exactly like an illness. It doesn't seem like everybody exposed to this catches it. So that's not ever very clear, I don't think. These Stargazers, when they become stargazers, they basically, it starts out and they're outside and they're staring mouth open at the sky. And then they start to walk and they start to go places and do things that aren't normal for these people. And sometimes it is violent and sometimes it is destructive. And we're following a father and his young daughter in this, and I think that's really all I can tell you. I mean, society starts breaking down, and the plot in here is not very big, but this is a novella, so, you know, sometimes the plots just aren't huge. But overall, I felt like this just lacked something, and I don't really know what. And again, was this my state of mind? It could be, but it felt like something was just missing from this to like really kick it up a notch. And there are like some slightly disturbing things in this. There is like the threat of harm towards children in this. I think that covers it pretty much. So if that makes you like exceptionally bothered or nervous or something, I mean, there is some of that in here, so I don't know. But yeah, overall, it felt lackluster, and I didn't really connect with the characters, and I just didn't love it. Then I read the second My Dark Library book. This is #ThighGap by Chandler Morrison, and this is about a woman named Helen who is a model in LA. And you can just fucking kick like a bottle cap in LA and hit like 3 models, right? So it's very competitive. Helen has to adhere to certain beauty standards, such as being very, very thin. So there is that. I mean, there is stuff about body dysmorphia, there's stuff about just like body image issues, disordered eating, anorexia, bulimia, drug use to suppress your appetite. So like any sort of thing about food that you can have, Helen has this in this story. She is just around the most vapid people you could imagine. It reminded me of if you took the movie The Neon Demon, right, with Elle Fanning, and you're not following her character, you're following one of the other models, the jealous models. So like Helen is one of those jealous models. And also there's like some American Psycho mixed in, I feel like. So she is not a good person, and the people around her are also not good people. And Helen gets really triggered when she just happens across another model, another woman who is perfect in Helen's eyes. And this like really triggers her, and she starts to have these like intrusive thoughts about binge eating and how she looked in the past and things like that. And it just kind of like rockets her into this even more terrible state of mind, and she starts to deteriorate. And I mean, that's really what this story is about, is like Helen sinking into the depths of her like disordered eating. And I liked this. I have to say, it felt like it started to lose its steam a little bit, maybe like 3/4 of the way through, but the ending really was good. So I think that, you know, bumped it up a few notches in my head at least. So this is one that I enjoyed this month. Next up we have Palmetto by Anya Alborn, and this was published in 2021. So this came out last year, and I've been holding on to it very diligently, awaiting my October novella binge. And this one I did not love either this month. I was kind of disappointed in it. This is about Kim, and her husband are expecting a child. In anticipation of this, they are looking at houses, and they find this one kind of like in the countryside that is just like sprawling and beautiful and out of their price range. But they put in like a lowball offer, and it gets accepted, and you're like, something's gotta be wrong here, right? And it turns out there is, because there's fucking cockroaches everywhere in this house. And Kim really struggles with that. And it seems like maybe Kim is the only one bothered by this for some reason. And you're like, well, why could that be? And if you're wondering why, you'll have to read it, because I'm not going to tell you. But yeah, this I thought would really creep me out. I don't like bugs. I fucking hate cockroaches. Like, this is like the #1 worst thing on this planet is fucking cockroaches. Like, I just hate them. They creep me out so bad. They are disgusting. They move too quickly. They are too smart for a bug. I hate them so much. So I thought that this would really bother me, and it didn't really. I don't know. This is just another one where it was like, this is okay, an okay novella, but this isn't like of the caliber that I'm expecting, that I'm anticipating, I guess, especially when I read this next one I'm gonna mention to you. This was like, oh my god, so fucking good. So it was like hard to go from a fucking gold medal novella to something like this that's like not bad, but it just like really didn't, I don't know, tickle my fancy, I guess. So like in this, I think part of it is like, okay, you get it, Kim's like scared of these bugs, but it's like, is she really scared, or does the author just want me to think she's scared? You know what I mean? And it was like that terror of the bugs didn't translate well onto the page. You know what I mean? Maybe you don't. It's okay. Like, what the fuck's happening in my brain right now? I don't know. But it was like the author wanted to tell me she was scared instead of showing me that she's fucking terrified, right? So yeah, I don't know. Not bad, but definitely not the best novella or even cockroach book I've ever read. To end on a really high note, I read Waif by Samantha Koilesnik, which I think also came out in 2021. Yes, this is Koilesnik's second novella, and I fucking love the first one. So I like kind of put this off because my brain does this thing where it's like, if I think I'm gonna really love something, sometimes I don't want to get to it ever, because then like, what if I read it and I don't love it? Like Palmetto, right? I don't want to be disappointed like that. So instead I just hold it on this high pedestal without knowing if I actually like it or not. I just like think that I probably will, and I don't want to ruin that. And that's what I've done with Waif. But now I read it, and you know what? Holy shit, this book was so fucking good. This is about Angela, and Angela's married to somebody she fucking hates. And like, they both hate each other. But like, her husband really, despite hating her, it's like she is a possession for him to own. And so he also doesn't want to be without her, because that would mean that he does not have possession of her anymore. And so, you know, they do wicked, terrible things to each other, basically, emotionally and physically and things like that. And one night, Angela happens across this man at the grocery store, and they have a very brief interaction, like an interaction that's like, if I went to the grocery store and this happened, I would never think about this person ever fucking again, you know? But she becomes like obsessed with this man immediately. And she begins to think that this is her soulmate. And she tells her husband about this. And this like triggers these really wild series of events that her and her husband go through. And the back really does not say anything about this. So I don't want to tell you exactly where this goes and what this does. You're really going to have to read this for yourself, but this is weird and gruesome and beautifully written. Just like, I shouldn't say everything I've read of Koilesnik, because like I think I've read like one short story maybe, and one novella or two now, but like her writing is so great. And just the things about, she's just like a really great feminist writer, I think. And she's got a really interesting take on things. So if you're looking for something that's like gross and hard hitting, definitely pick up Waif. It's such a quick, meaningful read. I loved it. And I think this was my favorite book in October. It was so good. I'm so glad that I took it down off its pedestal to try it out, and that it lived up to my expectations. Okay, so those are the few books that I read in October. Thank you guys always so much for watching. I will talk to you guys later. Goodbye.